How y'all doing? I'm gonna do another reaction video today. Russell Brand gave the first interview with Tucker Carlson since he got fired from Fox. It's interesting because both Russell Brand and Tucker Carlson have been warm on my list. I don't know why. Up until recently, have I gotten more involved. Maybe I just listened to them more. I'm not sure. But now I am a Russell Brand fan. Again, he is one of my favorite content creators. Every time I do a reaction video, I'm going to say that because I'm not going to tell y'all about some shit if it didn't tickle my fancy. You know what I mean? So, and now Tucker Carlson, as I've listened to him and as I've gotten deeper into his shit since he did get fired from Fox, because I wonder why. You know, why would they do that? But I've come to realize that maybe I didn't give either one of them a fair enough chance. Now, Russell Brand, I've been on him now for about some months, 6 months maybe. And I've known about him for a while, both of them. But I've taken a deep dive into both Russell Brand more than Tucker Carlson. But it's interesting to listen to Tucker's shit on Twitter now. I'm going to put a link to Tucker Carlson's Twitter, and I'm going to put a link to Russell Brand's YouTube and his Rumble on in the description of this video. You're gonna go to see it at Rumble. All of the most uncensored things are gonna be on Rumble. Everybody's scared to say anything on YouTube, and it's for obvious reasons. But anyway, so we're just gonna react to this video. I'm gonna give some of my insights, some of my thoughts as just some guy. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can get just bang, every time I upload something, you're going to be the first to know. Or one of the first to know. Anyway, here we go.
Tucker Carlson gave us his first world exclusive interview since leaving Fox. Let's reflect on some of the things it revealed, some of the pushback, and one thing he didn't say. Hello there, you 6.5 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage to truth and freedom.
I've been on the bandwagon with him since he was at 6.4. So,
A voyage we undertake together, making new alliances, new friendships, recognizing that the establishment now is quaking, waning, falling apart, and the new systems are being born. Turn on the notification bell and subscribe right now. We need you on this voyage so that you watch our daily content, lest the algorithm directs you elsewhere. We were privileged to have Tucker Carlson come here for his first interview since leaving Fox News. We talked about January the 6th with Tucker saying that FBI agents were likely in the crowd. That's something that those FBI whistleblowers said when they came on our show before. We talked too about the Ukraine war and Tucker's belief that it is primarily motivated by the economic requirements of the military-industrial complex. We talked about the culture war. We talked about the reasons that he left Fox. It was amazing to have a person of his stature, magnitude, conviviality, congeniality, kindness, and indeed...
Okay. Now, Russell he's wired. He is always going 100 miles an hour. He says his shit just fluid. I love it. I love his dialect. I love the way he comes at it. I feel like he's genuine, and you know, he's just running his mouth, and I respect it. So all that congeniality, meniality, I feel you. All right.
Let's face it, a controversial figure like him here on our premises as part of our media organisation. It shows me that media...
I did find it interesting. You know, I'm going to try to keep not cut this off so much, but I did find it interesting that Tucker decided to give his very first interview since getting canned at Fox to Russell Brand.
Has changed now. That Tucker Carlson chose our organisation as the place to make these revelations is an indication that the mainstream is kind of over. Let me know if you agree with that in the comments. In fact,
I do.
Partly what it seems to me that our entire cultural conflict is defined by now is establishment authority trying to assert itself in conditions that are no longer appropriate for it. Put simply, technology and communications has changed the world. This enables decentralised media and indeed political political models to thrive. The establishment cannot afford or allow that. When I say the establishment, I mean anything from CNN to Fox to the FBI to the CIA to MI5 to the WHO. These are by their nature centralized authoritarian structures that require these new models to be restrained. Firstly, in a way, this is a victory for independent media. As Glenn Greenwald pointed out in his tweet, Russell Brand's live midday interview with Tucker Carlson on Rumble was watched by almost 1 million people within the first few hours. We're now nearly at 3 million. Numbers that CNN can't dream of matching ever, let alone in Friday daytime in late July. I suppose that shows you that media has changed now. The type of conversations that you want to listen to, the type of conversations that you want to participate in have altered, and the mainstream can't keep up with.
You know, that's one thing that I'm extremely grateful for, because I grew up in the 80s, the 90s, and this was not an available option. For me to be able to sit here and run my mouth to whoever will listen, and to be able to get that shit out there worldwide just by clicking a few buttons, it's amazing. I think it's great. I appreciate y'all listening.
That. Look at the trouble they have with Donald Trump. CNN want to give him a town hall in order to invite viewers, and they have a meltdown about the response to it, whether it's the right thing to do. A popular figure like RFK emerges out of the Democrat establishment whilst attacking it, which I believe is what's necessary. They can't house him or frame him. People like that are seeking out independent media because the establishment is fundamentally conservative. I don't mean conservative politically, I mean wants to keep things the same. Preservative. Let's have a look at our conversation with Tucker Carlson. Let's share some personal reflections. Like, for example, he was polite and kind to every single person here on the premises. He was an absolute joy to be around. There was a lot of tweets, there was a lot of coverage, most of it extremely positive. Predictably, some people pushed back. But let's have a look at the conversation in a little more depth together. Right now that we're
these are those rhombohedron crystals in your pineal gland. When those crystals become electrically activated, all of a sudden they start calling energy
deeply embedded in Rumble. Why the hell did you leave Fox? Tell us the truth. What are you not permitted to say? Tell us. So do you think they sacked you because of Jan 6? Do you think they sacked you because you're too anti-establishment, too anti-war? What do you tell us?
I honestly don't know. I will say, my views changed dramatically over the course of 20 years. As I've said many times, I was a kind of half-hearted booster of the war in Iraq, which is hard to believe. But, that was in 2003. And so my views for the last 20 years have been, and I realized and I've repented of that, and I feel sick even thinking about it now. But
even if you're one of the people, and let me know in the comments if you are, that believes that Tucker Carlson is a nefarious influence in the media, do you not think that that's good? That he says, I was wrong in my reporting on the Iraq War and I feel guilty and ashamed. Have you seen anybody else, like Tony Blair or George W. Bush or any of the people that were reporting out that?
If y'all are here now and you just want to hear what Tucker's got to say, y'all going to wear it, because you got to wait for Russell to interrupt what Tucker's saying with his monologue, dialogue, whatever. And then you got to wait on me to interrupt to go through both of what both of them just said. Anyway, that is true. I find that to be very respectful, that he is able to admit publicly with such a big platform, with such a big following, as such a public figure, that he made such a crazy mistake, analysis, whatever. Most people can't admit they're wrong. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to admit they fucked up. I don't like to admit I fucked up. Most people just don't like to do it. And could you imagine, past admitting it to your family or admitting it to your friends or your coworkers, whatever, you're admitting it to the world. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are listening. So I respect that.
That time, remember, they were Republican politicians in the United States, Labour in our country, so left wing in our country, the UK. Have you seen anyone else offer up a mea culpa like that? How do people fit that into their framework of condemnation when people are like, oh, he's just doing that in order to what? How do you make sense of that?
But my views have remained pretty much the same for the last 20 years. They've evolved, as things have changed. But in general, I've been skeptical of the storylines and all kinds of different things. And I certainly was for the 14 years I was at Fox. And they were always, they didn't agree with me, of course, I don't think, but they were always very nice to me and they always let me say what I wanted. Not one time did they tell me not to say anything. So I was always grateful to Fox, and I am in retrospect grateful to Fox for that. So that never changed up until the moment they called me and said, we're taking the show off the air. And
I don't really mess with Fox, CNN, MSNBC, none of them. I will watch Fox more than the others for two reasons. Number one, they are a little bit less biased in most cases than any of the other BS, CNN, MSNBC, or whatever. But number two, and actually I probably should have switched it, first primarily because of the women. Some of the women, a handful of the women on Fox that are giving me the news are giving it to me in a manner that I'm able to absorb because I'm paying attention. You know what I mean?
So I can only speculate. I know, but I do think as a general matter, not even about me, the war in Ukraine is a red line for a lot of people in business and politics. And you see it in our politics in the U.S., where the leaders of the Republican Party in the Congress, who really are repulsive, in my view, are now supporting sending cluster bombs to Ukraine. Ukraine is losing the war, obviously. The United States could, and Ukrainians are dying in huge numbers, and the country's being destroyed.
Fucking crazy.
And so the U.S. could force a peace like tonight. They could, uniquely.
Hold on. I want y'all to hear that. Listen to what this dude just said, and I believe it.
Ukrainians are dying in huge numbers, and the country's being destroyed. And so the U.S. could force a peace like tonight. They could. Uniquely, they have that power.
Could force a peace tonight, and I believe that. Trump said he'd end that shit in 24 hours. I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter. I haven't decided yet. I know I'm not. I have decided on one thing. I won't vote for Biden or anybody that adopts any of them bullshit policies. So probably limits my choices, but I won't vote for Biden. I'd vote for my fucking hemorrhoid before I'd vote for Biden. And that shit hadn't flared up in a minute. I don't even know if that motherfucker will show up in the next 4 years. Hopefully not, but... So, he's saying that, man, these fuckers could just engineer a peace in 24... right now, tonight. And I believe it. I believe it. But they don't. For money. That shit's crazy.
And they won't. And they're continuing to allow Ukrainians to be killed and the country to be devastated. So, I don't know their motive. I can only guess. But I know that if you criticize that, they really are intent on making you be quiet.
One thing that Fox did censor, or at least didn't broadcast, was Tucker's interview with the chief of the Capitol Police. Why was that? Is that a significant interview? Do you think we'll ever see it? Let me know in the comments. One way that we can personally navigate censorship, spying, surveillance, data capture is through the intelligent use of a VPN. Here is one that more ability to control. January 6th clearly is one of the issues that drove Tucker out of Fox. What was it? Let me know what you think happened on that day that means this issue remains so contentious.
Listen, one of the things Russell Brand does do that irritates the shit out of me is he will ask you to leave a comment 500 times. Now, he's got a big team over there, 6.5 million subs. So I'm sure that, there's some data showing that, hey, you need to ask for comments a lot. You know what I mean? But he just asked for them a lot. Drop a comment. Let me know if y'all agree. I just wanted to say that. I had that written down. I don't go to my notes much. I make all these notes for these videos, and I just end up not ever fucking looking at them. Won't even look down at them. Look everywhere else but the notes. I looked. I caught it today.
Was it that there were government agents in the crowd? Do you think it was a false flag issue? That's not what Tucker says, obviously. Do you think it's been exploited to introduce new laws and to force forward surveillance and more ability to control and censor? No. Why was this day so significant in recent American political history?
They immediately recoiled when you asked any questions about January 6th. And that was a tip-off to me. I mean, I had no thought in my head as I watched this happen on television and in the subsequent weeks that U.S. law enforcement or military agencies had anything to do with it. That never crossed my mind. I never thought that it was a false flag or anything like that. I'm not a conspiracist by temperament. I never thought that.
What does that mean?
And then I interviewed the chief of the Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, in an interview that was never aired on Fox, by the way. I was fired before it could air. I'm going to interview him again. But Stephen Sund was the totally non-political, worked for Nancy Pelosi. I mean, this was not some right-wing activist. He was the chief of the Capitol Police on January 6th. And he said, oh, yeah. That crowd was filled with federal agents. What? Yes. Well, he would know, of course, because he was in charge of security at the site.
Wow.
One moment that I found fascinating, let me know in the comments if you agree, was Tucker's assertion that Trump is the most significant political...
Listen, for the rest of this video, anytime Russell Brand asks you to leave a comment, please leave a comment, because, you know, it helps. Clearly.
force to emerge in America in the last 100 years. He compares him, of course, to that other great American populist, Teddy Roosevelt. What do you think Tucker meant about Trump being the most significant force? Do you think he means that Trump was a wrecking ball to the establishment, the swamp drainer? Do you think that Trump was the emergence of a different type of politics, a new populism? Do you think that Trump is the symptom of a dying establishment? Do you think that Trump is authentic when he says he's going to change things for small businesses, ordinary Americans, that he's going to make America great again? What do you think is the significance of Donald Trump? Plainly, well, literally, Tucker says he loves him. It seems you have occupied varying positions.
You know, one thing that is interesting about this 2020, there's so many things interesting about this 2024 election. By far, the most interesting election that I have ever paid attention to. And I'm a fairly politically minded individual. I like to pay attention to what's going on, you know. And so I actually made some videos, I think, where from when Trump was campaigning the first time before he got elected. I'm gonna have to go back and check them out, see if there's gonna get content in there I can farm. But I think now we have 4 years of Trump to look at. Now, if you're gonna look at the decisiveness and you're gonna look at all the bullshit, I'm talking about policy. Was our country better? Was it? Was our economy better? And remember, we're coming off of a pandemic here. Got slammed with that shit, you know. So coming off of that and going right into an election cycle. Before that pandemic hit, and even after, the speed of the recovery afterwards. Now, I realize that's not a one-man show. I'm not trying to say that you can give Trump all the credit or none of the credit for that. But what I'm saying is, with 4 years to look at, we can judge policy, foreign policy, domestic policy. We can judge how the military was handled in that time, how, you know, I know a lot of people probably want to be at war all the time, but Trump was a pretty peaceful president. You know what I mean? And so we can look at the resume. Most times you don't have that with a president. In fact, other than what was his name? Grover Cleveland. I think Grover Cleveland was like the 25th and the 27th or the 26th and the 28th president or something like that. So, I mean, they could look at his resume and you know, but it'll be interesting to see how people discern Donald Trump this election cycle, because now, along with the whole resume, part of that resume is 2 impeachments. Part of that resume is being indicted in New York on 34 felonies. That doesn't sound ridiculous. Isn't that fucking ridiculous? I don't care who you're indicting. Like, a former president, now he's federally indicted out of, you know, for taking all the documents, classified documents. I'm waiting to see. I know it's like they're probably give Biden like 2 or 3 weeks out of office before they arrest him for the same thing. So I'm sure they're gonna play that whole thing fair across, you know, all that.
Positions on Trump at various times. Where are you on Donald Trump now? And particularly perhaps how that relates to the emergence of radical anti-establishment figures within the Democrat Party, notably RFK.
Where am I on Trump now? Well, I love Trump. Personally. I mean, I made a huge mistake last November in getting involved in American politics, something I've never done before, and making calls, you know, this guy's going to win. I think this is going to happen in this state. Meet your new governor, New York, stuff like that. And I was wrong on almost every call. I'm not a very astute political analyst. I'm not interested in politics. I never have been interested in politics. I'm interested in ideas. I'm interested in people. And so there's a primary going on in the United States between Trump and a bunch of other people, primarily Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, but others, Vivek Ramaswamy, for example. And I haven't said word one about it. Don't plan to.
I'm not going to butcher his name, Vikramaswamy or something. He's a Indian candidate, conservative, running for president. I think he would be a very good vice presidential candidate if for whoever got the top of the ticket, because the top of the GOP ticket's going to come down to Trump or DeSantis. I don't think anybody else has a realistic shot at that. And they're not going to even have the ability for you to vote for anybody else. I can't even think about voting Democrat because they're not going to present another Democrat. It's Biden or nothing if you're a Democrat. That's kind of crazy. Like, what the fuck are they thinking? Like, how are you just going to put this old, crazy, decrepit... This motherfucker falls up the steps regularly. Come on, man. Come on, man. Fuck Joe Biden. And another thing, is that okay? Can they do that? Can they just not... They say, okay, Democrats, you don't get any choices? Is it kind of like thwart the whole democracy thing? Like, hey, what if there are other Democrats out there that people are looking at? Specifically, they're talking about RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr. But they're not even going to platform him to have a debate with creepy, sleepy GP Joe.
I think looking back on this 10 years from now, assuming we're still around, I think we're going to see Trump's emergence as the most significant thing to happen in American politics in 100 years, because he reoriented the Republican Party against the wishes of Republican leaders.
That's true.
But when I think about Trump right now, so it's July of 2023, I'm struck by his foreign policy views. Trump is the only person with stature in the Republican Party, really, who's saying, wait a second, why are we supporting an endless war in Ukraine? And
that's going to be, I think, the biggest sticking point for Trump specifically, is that he is completely, adamantly against the war in Ukraine. He's ready to end it within 24 hours, and he means that shit. And they know he means that shit. And I think that means enough to them, the military industrial complex, to say, yo, we can't have this guy in here, man. You know what I mean? Like, no. Joe is fine. Do what we got to do to keep sleepy, creepy, jeepy Biden in there. Because...
leaving aside whether Trump's going to get the nomination or get elected president or would be a good president, I can't even assess that. All I can say at this point is I'm so grateful that he has that position. He's right. And everyone in Washington's wrong. Everyone. Mm-hmm. And Trump is right on that question. And it's a big question. That war is reshaping the world. It's reshaping the economy of the world. It's reshaping populations. I was just in Romania last week, which is, of course, shares a border with Ukraine. The refugees in that region, the number of people killed in that war, Europe will never be the same because of this war. And it really matters.
We still don't know what Tucker Carlson will do as a broadcaster, but it seems increasingly likely it will be as an independent media journalist. For now, at least, he is operating within Twitter. Is that because his Fox contract prohibits other types of relationships? Let me know what you think in the comments. What does he think about Elon Musk, and what is the nature of his financial relationship with perhaps the most powerful new media operator in the game, Elon Musk? We were all amongst us thinking, where will Tucker go? Is it going to be Tucker? Will he be joining us on Rumble? Will you set up your own thing? What was it about your conversations with Elon Musk that led you to work there on Twitter?
Well, I don't work for Elon. He's paid me zero money. I don't think I ever want to work for anyone again. I've done that. I'd like to make money. I think that's fair. I've made zero money since I left, and that's fine. But at some point I'd like to, but I'm not working for Elon Musk. He hasn't offered to hire me, and if he did, I wouldn't accept. But what he's done is offered me what he's offered every other user of Twitter, which is a chance to broadcast your views without a gatekeeper there. But I do think, I think the technology at Twitter is, my expectation, is evolving. And I think, the subscription model, might work or it might not. Tell me
what you think. Leave a comment below.
I don't know, but I think it might. And
This has been a great deception on the
Wait,
part
watch
of the
this
Chinese
video.
Communist Party.
The vast majority of people in the West who
and I plan to stay there. But what social media offer in the short term, at least for me, is an audience, but also a reason. This is personal, but a reason to write. I can't think clearly without writing. I started in this business as a magazine writer and a book writer, newspaper writer, and I need to write things out. Very dyslexic, and I can't. I have trouble processing information in certain ways, and unless I'm forced to write a script, I can't really decide what I think about something. And so the daily or regular discipline of writing a script forces me. And
I always like to think about writing this comprehensive outline of my thoughts. Because when I'm thinking it and when I'm first saying it, that shit's just like, ooh. But I can never write it all down. I might write a piece down here, a piece down there, and I never come back to the shit. If I could just consolidate all of my thoughts into one writing. But
in some cases, it really is forced. I don't want to do it. I'd much rather go fishing or bird hunting. I would. But if I have to, I will. And there's something wonderful in that. Writing a script, as you know, forces you to think through everything about the issue. To have a much deeper understanding of it. At least for me, that's true.
Well, let me know, what questions do you think I should have asked Tucker Carlson? What would you like to have seen more of? Are you excited about the way that independent media is shaping up? Do you share my belief that independent media and independent politics are now forever enmeshed? In a sense, it's one movement, because if you're anti-surveillance, anti-censorship, anti-globalism, anti-authoritarianism, anti-closing down debate and closing down conversation, anti-bad faith conflagration causing reporting, then necessarily you're going to have to convey that through media, and in order to change it, you're going to have to become politicized. That's why I regard what we're doing now more as a movement than as a broadcast channel in the conventional sense. I know we have an obligation to you, and I hope you feel you have an obligation to us, to continue to watch us, to share our content, to guide us, to let us know when we've made mistakes, to let us know when we're guilty of the errors that the mainstream makes, removing nuance, personal biases, deliberate manipulation. Stay in contact with us. Hit us up in the comments. Give us a thumbs up. Share this video around. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at this one or this one.
Oops. Alright. I appreciate y'all.
Lee, mate, go on then. What is this?
Check Russell Brand out. He goes fast, but he's saying some good shit. And if you are a free thinker, if you're open-minded, then you're going to want to hear what he has to say. If you're undecided, you're going to get something out of listening to him. If you're far on one side or the other, then you don't need to listen to anything. You just need to get you some rest and make sure you got a way to and from the voting poll, the ballot boxes, whenever it's time to vote for your Democrat or Republican or whatever side you're on. But for the ones in the middle, check out Russell Brand. He'll help put a spin on it that might be helpful in sorting some of your views out and making decisions. Of course, like I say right now, the Democrats are not giving us any decisions. We've either got to vote for Joe, not vote, or I say we. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I don't even know what I am. I don't even think I have. I'm not a thing. I'm a he, him today. So that's it. I appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, leave comment. See you next time. This one's long as fuck. Holy shit. If you get to the end of this one, just leave a thumbs up, because that'll be great. Okay, bye.